The meeting will now come to order. Welcome to the November 10th, 2020 meeting of the Durham County Board of Equalization and Review. My name is David Smith and I'm the chair of the board. I would like to start by acknowledging that we are conducting this meeting using a remote electronic platform as permitted by Session Law 2020-3. The Board of Equalization and Review is a quasi-judicial board that is governed by the North Carolina General Statutes. The board conducts evidentiary hearings on appeals from appraised, real, and personal property tax valuations. Today's meeting will proceed much like an in-person meeting of the Board of Equalization and Review. On the screen, you will see the members of the Board of Equalization and Review. Additionally, tax staff and representatives from the County Attorney's Office may be present in the remote meeting. Appellants and their witnesses, if any, were required to register in advance and are also attending the remote meeting. When a case is called for its hearing, speakers will be prompted within the remote platform so their video can be seen. The chair will swear in applicants and witnesses at the beginning of each case. Staff will present each case and applicants will then provide their evidence. Control of the presentation and screen sharing will remain with tax staff. Today's meeting is being broadcast live on the county's YouTube site, and a link to this broadcast is on the website for the Board of Equalization and Review. Before we begin the evidentiary hearings on today's agenda, I would like to provide some important information about the steps taken to ensure that each party's due process rights are protected as we proceed in this remote platform. Each applicant on today's agenda was notified that this meeting would be conducted using a remote electronic platform. During registration, every applicant on today's agenda consented to the board conducting the evidentiary hearing using this remote platform. We will also confirm today at the start of each evidentiary hearing that the participants in the evidentiary hearing consent to the matter proceeding in this remote platform. If there is any objection to a matter proceeding in this remote platform, the case will be continued. Notice of today's meeting was provided by publishing notice in the newspaper and by mail to the applicant. The newspaper notices for today's meeting contain information on how the public can access the remote meeting as the meeting occurs. These notices also contain information about the registration requirement for the meeting, along with information about how to register. All individuals participating in today's evidentiary hearing were also required to submit a copy of any presentation, document, exhibit, or other material that they wish to submit at the evidentiary hearing prior to today's meeting. No new documents will be submitted during today's meeting. All decisions of this board are subject to appeal to the North Carolina Property Tax Commission. Okay, well, let's start off with the consent agenda, and that is items 1 through 6. Do I have a motion from the board regarding items 1 through 6?
I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let's move on. So the next one I see on my agenda here is 902 Liberty Street, Gene Chaywick and Donald Coates. Are either of those present?
Don't see them.
Okay. Is Kenya here to present? Is she the one presenting this one? No. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, let's come back to that one and move on to the one on Blacknell Street. Lucia Perez Labra, are you present?
Her daughter was supposed to do it for her, and she was supposed to put in a power of attorney. And I went through my emails, and Starling went through my emails, and I don't see it. But I've been talking to her, so I gave her an option of doing that or letting the staff present her case. And I guess since she's not here, maybe the staff can just present her case.
Okay, and this is on for Miss Labra, is that correct?
Perez, yeah, yes, Lucy.
Perez, okay. All right, well, let's start with staff. Miss Moore, are you presenting for staff? Need to unmute your screen.
All right. Yes, sir. I'm presenting.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, it is.
State your name and position with the county, please.
My name's Colleen Moore. I've been a employee of Durham County for 20 years, since 2007 in the capacity of a supervisor. And I was the appraiser. I did a lot of the Habitat properties. And that's what this is. This is a Habitat for Humanity property.
All right. Okay, what have you got for us on this?
Okay, so the appellant, basically, they were supported filling out the applications by Habitat, and they're based on what their purchase price was. So this property was purchased 116 North Blacknell in 2017 for $138,000. So we had a meeting with the real estate directors from Habitat for Humanity and from self-help to kind of get a better grasp as far as what was going on and what kind of restrictions were there, because we were finding a lot of the restricted properties were in very highly areas that were being gentrified. So we met with them and got an idea of real specifics of what the terms were when these properties were purchased. So the appellant, her stance was that it should be assessed at what she paid for it of $138,000. So I was the one who worked this appeal. In 2019, the original assessment was $210,600, and that was lowered in 2019 to $178,546. And then it was further reduced in 2020 to our current assessment of $165,295. So the property's listed as a C average. We have a 25% negative adjustment added to the dwelling, nothing to the land, but to the dwelling. The subject area is that the market area in where the property's located is very active, and non-habitat properties typically sell in the low hundreds and then are rehabbed and go for mid or high 250s. So one thing with Habitat that we learned this year in talking to the people who work for Habitat is that if the property was bought prior to 2016, it is actually not encumbered with any type of restrictions. What it does, it gives Habitat the first right of refusal. So if the Habitat, if they are planning on selling, they have to go through Habitat, and Habitat gets the opportunity to review the potential resale, and they have the first right to purchase the property back over them putting it on the market. So Habitat has that ability to take the property back to buy. They have the first right of sale, and this does not restrict the sale price. Okay, but the properties, which is what the appellants is a part of, since 2016, a covenant on the property from Habitat was placed on the resales. So anything from 2016 on has this covenant, which is actually a deeded covenant, and it limits the resale of the property. And it restricts it limits the resale price at $250,000 for the sale of the house, and they have to approve the buyer's income, that the buyer has in a lower income bracket. But those properties can sell up to $256,000. That's the limit.
So is this property subject to that or not?
It is subject to that.
So the only restriction is it can't sell for more than
$256,000, right? So I feel that we have substantially dropped the the price. It's a house that was built in 2017. Tim, can you pull comps up? The property was built in 2017. It's 1,352 square foot. So this is just to give you an idea of what the properties, it's very hard to find anything actually that is not very old that's there. But you can see what the sale prices are for non-habitat houses. And right, they're substantially higher. I have a chart that has all the habitat houses on it, and mostly everything is running, everything value-wise is from about $120 a square foot up to about $145 a square foot. So that we understand that they were able to get into the house at a very lowered price, but we've also acknowledged that the houses are not going to have the amenities that the other houses in that neighborhood are going to have just because of the location. Hence the 25% adjustment on the building. You know, they're not going to have trophy kitchens in these houses the way a lot of the other ones are. So we feel like we accommodated for the kind of the very average state of the houses, and they're usually listed either as a C or a C minus with the average condition. So
basically made a 25% adjustment because it's a Habitat for Humanity house versus a market.
Yes, sir. And it started, like I said, the original assessment that went out on the property with the reval was $210,600. And since that point, it's been dropped down to the current $165,295.
So you think 210 would be the market value if it was not a Habitat house?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
And I guess she hasn't joined since we started, has she? I did see a phone number on there. That's not her by any chance, is it? Okay. All right. Any questions from the board? Any comments?
I'll make a motion. We accept the amended changes of 165,295.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it passes. All right, let's move back to Liberty Street. And do we have a staff member for that?
That one was verbally accepted, and Kenya and I had a discussion about it, and I was supposed to move it to the consent agenda per Jamin's request that it was okay, but they did do a verbal acceptance of the new value.
Okay. All right, then I will entertain a motion regarding number 9. Somebody?
I move that we accept it as presented.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, let's see. Well, let's move on to number 11, May Department Store. Is anybody here from May Department Store? We may have to wait since.
I am. I'm sorry. I am.
Okay. All right. And you are?
My name is Michael Clary.
All right. Well, let me get you sworn in first. If you will raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your name and what's your association with May Department Stores?
So I'm Michael Clary. I work in the real property tax area for Macy's. So I am an employee of Macy's. This is the Macy's store at Streets at South Point.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll hear from staff and we'll come back to you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Jack, let's get you sworn in, please. If you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Jack, did you speak? I couldn't hear you.
I do.
Okay. All right. So, oh, and state your position too, please.
I'm a commercial appraiser with the Durham County Tax Administration.
Okay. You're kind of fading in and out a little bit. I hope we'll be able to hear you all right. All right. So what do you have for us on this one?
It's a clarity of myself.
Yeah, Jackie.
Can you hear me? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Sorry about that. Something's wrong with my microphone. Okay. So this is a 2019 appeal. This was carried on by me. The appeal was originally worked by Ryan Vincent with Vincent Valuations in 2019. It was originally accepted, and then it was rescinded by Mr. Clary and wanted to take this appeal onto the board. I'm not sure why it did not go through 2019, but we carried over in 2020. And after I reviewed the information, I decided this was the same information that was provided by Mr. Clary, and we actually use this this information for appeals at Belks and Sears in South Point. So we valued this in line with the other properties, and I wanted to note that we actually have the value at $11,387,784. It states that that's going to be $73.52 a square foot, but the actual that actually breaks down to $63 per square foot. So it's actually less than that per square foot that we have there.
All right.
Go ahead.
So you all thought you had it settled, and then it came back up. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, Mr. Clary, what information do you have for us?
So I submitted some evidence with the original appeal. I don't know if the board members have that available, or how this would be handled normally. I mean, I could share my screen if not.
Well, it has to be submitted. So do we have that, Tim? Do we have his information?
Yeah, we do. But this is one of the instances I have to ask Mr. Clary. Is it income stuff you're presenting?
Well, I submitted a PDF evidence package, which includes income and sales information.
Okay, because your income information is private, and we don't want to disclose that to the general public. So we'll need to kind of go into sort of a more private situation. Is that the case? Do you have information that you don't want shared with the general public?
I mean, what we put out there, we understand could become public. So that's not a concern.
Okay. All right. If that's okay with you, then we won't leave this format.
Okay. That's fine. So just to clarify, do you have the PDF? If not, I can share it on my screen. Either way.
Oh yeah, I believe it is about 19 pages. Is that right?
That is it. Yes. Thank you. All right.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have it up.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So this is for a Macy's store at South Point. It's a 2-story store connected to the mall.
Hold on just a minute. Let Tim pull up the information.
Okay. Thank you.
And then you can maybe go through it with us some.
I apologize. It's so different doing these on Zoom.
Yeah, tell me about it. Okay, see, now we see it on the screen. Do you see it on your screen also?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Thank you. So on the, this is just our cover page. And if you could go to the 3rd page in that packet, it has the information about this store. So yeah, that's it. The summary page that was just passed. Sorry. Right there. Thank you. So our store, you can see most of the data here. It is 180,000 square feet, a 2-level store, and it sits on almost 10 acres of land. Now that's going to include the land under the store and then the parking lot area for that store. We own it. It is not leased. Again, we're talking about a date of value here of 1/1/19. So not only well before Corona, but even before.
I can do it. What do we have? Hello?
Colleen, could you please mute your?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. So as Mr. Streeter said, the market value assigned by the county is about $3 a square foot.
I don't know how many calls I've been on the last couple of days. Starlow's calling.
Colleen, we're still hearing you.
On his personal phone, like, you realize you're calling people on Teams? he's like every time I get up from the counter.
Call it. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. So our conclusion of value, we use both a sales approach and an income approach. And we are coming at a value of about $9 million, which is roughly $50 a square foot.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see your information.
Okay. So we can skip past the next page. It's just an overhead photo. And then on the following page, we have a map of the mall. So just for reference, we're talking about 1/1/19. So Sears had announced their closing in late 18, but they didn't actually move out until the spring of 19. That doesn't really impact this, but you'll see, that Sears is still on this map, and that would be accurate. So if we can go to the next page, we'll talk about the actual Macy's store performance. Not unusual here, just like most department stores, unfortunately, for the past half decade or so. Sales have been declining. That's not unique to South Point. That's not unique to Durham County. I was in Wake County 2 weeks ago for our hearing at Crabtree Valley. It's the same story. So what you can tell from these numbers isn't so much, how great or how poorly Macy's is doing, but really this is reflective of the overall department store market. You're going to see this at the highest end, with a Nordstrom or even, Neiman Marcus or Saks. You're going to see this at the lowest end of the department store hierarchy as well. And it just shows that these large format stores are declining in demand for a number of reasons. I mean, you've got generational changes, shopping habits change, e-commerce is a big impact on that. And all of that combined has had a negative impact on our stores. And consequently, you have a negative impact on the demand for a mall space. So we always distinguish Macy's department store, any attached department store, from, say, a Walmart or a Lowe's or some other large format big box store that's freestanding. They have a lot more flexibility with reuse. There's a lot more options for re-tenanting a property like that, and a bigger pool of secondary users. With a mall department store, you really are looking at a series of contractual obligations between the store and the mall owner that sort of limit the potential pool of users. So that impacts our market analysis. That's something to keep in mind here as we move forward. So the next page has some income comparables. And I'll just pause here for a second and just mention, our approach to this, as I've explained, is really to isolate our market data to only anchor department stores. And the reason is, again, a Walmart is not going to move into this mall, nor is a Macy's going to take over a Walmart. So the unique features of having a building attached to a large mall are only really able to be analyzed when you look at similar situated stores. So what happens though is that because there aren't that many transactions, we don't have 6 leases from North Carolina, much less from county. Nor do we have 6 comparable sales that would be good to look at. So what we have to do is expand our geographic area and find similar buildings and then do our best to align those with the subject. And one of the most helpful ways that we do this is looking at what are the actual sales of the inline stores at the mall. So this kind of speaks to what is the quality of the mall itself. Now, South Point is what we would call an A mall. So by any measure, and there are multiple companies that grade malls, but by any measure, South Point falls into the category of, an A quality mall because of the tenant mix. There's an Apple store. There's other features about the mall that elevate it. So, we do our best to find leases and sales that are equal to that. And where we can't, we try to adjust upward. So in this analysis, what we're presenting is 6 leases of mall anchor department stores from around the country. And I'll try to explain a little bit. There's 2 groups of these. So if we look at lease 1, 3, and 5, what we have there are lower quality malls where you had a new tenant come in and lease an existing space. So in this example, Sears has moved out of South Point. What kind of lease rate would a tenant come in if Belk or wanted to expand, or something like Dillard's wanted to come in and just lease the entire thing? So if you look at lease 1, 3, and 5 on our analysis, you have a lease rate in lease 1 that was a Belk that took over a Macy's store for 73 cents a square foot. In lease 3, you also had a Belk taking over a Macy's store for $1.34 a square foot. And in lease 5, you have a store called At Home, which took over an old department store space, a department store called Boscov's in Pennsylvania, and that's $4.17 a square foot. So that's important to see. That's what it takes to replace a department store tenant with a department store. Now, lease 2, lease 4, and lease 6 are all renegotiations of existing leases. So if you've got a tenant in there, for one reason or another, they're thinking about moving out, and they're going to completely renegotiate a long-term lease with the mall owner, that's what you see in these. So in lease 2, you have Sears renegotiated a lease in a very high quality mall in Columbus, Ohio, for $2.04 a square foot. Lease 4, you have a JCPenney in California, and that lease rate was $3.62. And in lease 6, this is an outdoor mall in Florida, and you have a lease rate there of $4 per square foot. So again, we have a couple of different types of lease situations going on here, but when you look at an average of all of these, you're coming up to $265 a square foot. Now, again, with the quality of South Point, we would put a potential lease rate for this store at the high end of the range at $420. So if you could go to the next page, please. This is there's a lot of information here, so I hesitate a little bit to go through everything because it's easy to get bogged down in this, but I think there's one thing I wanted to point out here. What this is showing is that in retail, whether you're a department store or a jewelry store in the mall, or you're in a strip mall, you're always looking at what is my rental rate compared to my store sales, and how do those compare? And the question here, it's like your mortgage payment for your home. If your mortgage payment is 50% of your income, the bank knows that's not a good thing. And similarly, landlords know that their tenants need to have their rent equate to a certain percentage of their gross sales. And for department stores, all of these percentages, all that they are saying is that on average, department stores pay somewhere between 2 and 3.5% of their gross sales in rent. That is a healthy number. If that number gets too much higher than that 3.5%, it's possible that, that department store could be in a little bit of trouble. So all we're doing here is saying, okay, we came up with a $4.20 lease rate. Our average store sales for the last 3 years at the top there are $115.37 per square foot. And that lease rate would be 3.64% of our store sales. Is that healthy? It is. It kind of falls within this healthy range. So that's what we're trying to show. But one other thing I wanted to point out here, if you could just scroll down slightly on this page, there's some data at the bottom, and this is where the county took some information. So in the bottom table, it says 2015 PNC real estate survey. There is a line that says Macy's on the left-hand side. And I apologize, it's a little bit of an eye test depending on what your computer screen looks like. But for Macy's, what it's showing is that we have an average lease rate across all our stores of $5.15 a square foot. So for the purpose of this analysis, the county took that $5.15 and used it in their income approach. All that I would like to point out there is that that's just an average, a national average. And our national average sales of our store within our stores is $163 a square foot. So because South Point sales are lower, we would expect that lease rate to be lower as well. So again, I wanted to point that out because the county used that data point.
What is your sales per square foot on this store?
So the year leading into the reval was $110 a square foot. So we're well below the average. And I mean, even going back to 2014, you were only looking at sales in the $120 to $130 square foot range.
And this is 4 to 5 years before our valuation, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Thank you.
So even even lining up the years with this chart, you have some discrepancy there. So the next page has some cap rates on it. It's interesting, but unfortunately, most of these cap rates reflect malls themselves. We don't really have anchor department store cap rates. So, a mall as a total investment, especially a higher quality mall, is going to have less risk than just one department store. And because of that, we use a cap rate higher than most of what you're going to see on this page and under the OAR section. So we used a cap rate of 7.5%. I believe the county used 7%. I don't think we're terribly different in that respect, but that's where we got our 7.5% from.
Okay.
So the next page is just our income analysis. So we used our market rent of $4.20 a square foot, and then we applied a vacancy and collections reduction of 5%. We used expenses of 7%. Both of these are just standard deductions in the income approach. I don't think we've got too much disagreement with the county on these. So that gives us a net operating income of $669,767. And with that 7.5% cap rate, we have a value of $8,930,220, 49.48 a square foot, rounded to 50.
Okay.
All right. So the next page is our sales approach. So showing some comparable sales. And again, just to reiterate, we don't have 6, solid sales in North Carolina to share. Unfortunately, the sales we do have, I certainly recognize these are lower quality malls. I've been to all of them, so I understand the distinction there. But sale 3 is Northgate Mall, which now I understand is being completely torn down. And sale 5 is Carolina Place, and sale 6 is Cary Town Center. So these were all Macy's stores at those malls. Sale 1 is a Nordstrom in the metropolitan Washington, D.C. area. Sale 2 is a Sears in Columbus, Ohio. So that's the store I talked about earlier in the lease analysis. And Sale 4 was a Macy's in California. This is, I mean, it's hard. It's California real estate. So this value is certainly at the high end of the range. But I felt like it was necessary to include something like this in there, given the quality of South Point. So it doesn't, you know, I don't want to just put the lowest possible numbers up here. So we can at least include some that are a little bit more valuable real estate. But the bottom line here is really Sale 2 is probably the most comparable. In fact, now that I think about it, I should have put some pictures in, because if you were to walk through that mall, it looks very similar to South Point. It has the that sort of feel that you're outdoors with the open skylights and the sort of city center town fronts on all the stores, and you know, the nice flooring and all of that. Very similar. In that store, unadjusted, it sold for $55.20 a square foot. And after adjustments, we came to $53.91. And again, that's probably the most comparable. Now, the county does have, you know, this store assessed at $63 a square foot for 2019, and that's what we're here contesting. And so again, with Sale 2 being the most comparable of all of these, and it's well below the $63 number. The average of all our sales after adjustments is $41.51. And still, again, looking at Sale 2, we concluded to a value of $50 a square foot. And so I think it's in line with the income approach, and it's still a high quality mall with a solid value. It's not down at the $20 or $15 square foot like the low end malls. But again, lower than where the county had its set in the reappraisal. And that is really all I had to present. The rest of this package is just information on these sales comparables, demographic information and others. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, this is Wendell.
Okay.
Thanks, Mr. Clary. I did not look at the trend reports for the shopping ISC or ICS. Are the trends, is the South Point Mall following the national trends with respect to declining same store sales and expense category following that as well? Expenses, are the expenses going down or coming up? Not only for maintenance, depreciation, and just overall, that's a 20-year-old mall now, about 19-year-old. So how does that factor into your analysis when you're looking at the same store sales, the demographic trends, and the overall decline in the performance of shopping malls? How do you factor that across the spectrum when you're doing your analysis?
So the biggest way that comes into our analysis is when we're trying to select other comparables to compare with our store. So as an example, I mean, you can see on the page that's up on your screen, if you look under the line that says subject, the inline mall sales at South Point are $675 a square foot.
Right.
What that means to me in looking at trends is that this is a mall that will survive. And even though it's declined in terms of the sales, it's not been as sharp of a decline as a lot of the other malls. So, right. I mean, as the extreme other end of the spectrum, if you looked at Northgate Mall, I mean, that fell off a cliff. Yeah. Whereas this is just a slow decline, and there's still enough income, there's still enough tenants. I mean, I was just at the mall a couple of weeks ago. There's barely any vacancy there. And that means that Brookfield, the owner, is going to be able to reinvest in the mall and make some of those improvements that you talked about. So it's not great, and it hasn't been great at almost any mall in the country. But this is certainly, you know, a mall that's holding its own. Now, the question is, with department stores in particular, so even though this mall is strong, Sears chose to close its doors there. And what do you do with an empty space like that? I mean, in the year and a half that Sears has been closed, as far as I know, there are no plans for what to do with that store yet. And I think that just speaks to, again, the demand for this much space in the mall. Doesn't mean the mall's going under, but you really have to find a particular user for a department store once it's closed and available.
Thank you.
Any other questions before we move on to the county? Okay, all right, Jack, if you'll please tell us, if you could focus really on the differences between your analysis and his analysis, I think that would be helpful.
All right, so looking at this, the analysis that was presented by Ryan, well, made up by Ryan. Basically, like he already stated, we took the that 515, the 515 rate for rent, and he actually brought it down to $5 and used that and used
Okay, excuse me, let me stop you. Tim, can you go back to his income analysis? Mr. Clary's income analysis? Yeah, that I think it's it there. Right there. Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, Jack. Continue.
No problem. No problem. So yeah, so we used that that $5 because that was actually rent that was from Macy's. He brought it down to $5 even, and used a 5% vacancy and a 5% expense instead of 7. And then of course took the cap rate down to 7.01 or 7%. And I believe Mr. Clary, you said we're not that far off on that one, but that's basically what he used to verify that our value is in line or could hold up with the other Macy stores, or that rent per square foot, or that our value basically holds up there. As far as there is a sale that was presented that was from that was a local sale. It was from Crabtree Valley Mall. We found out after talking to Mr. Clary and his appeal with Wake County that that sale was a leaseback sale. So it was disqualified with it was rightfully disqualified with Wake County, but looking at their information that Mr. Clary provided, they actually stated that they have that property in line with the other properties in the mall. And let's see, I believe they had that at.
Can you go back to that chart, please, Tim? So are you talking about Cary Town Center? Is that what you're talking about, Jack? Or
Yeah, it was no, it was actually this was on our information, on Durham County's information. So okay. Tim, could you pull up the write-up, the case brief? But while he's pulling that up, basically that sale was disqualified by Wake County because and it was a significantly higher sale price. It was $116 per square foot. We of course have this property assessed at $63 a square foot. Wake County does have a note in there that even though they disqualified this sale, they have this property at $76 a square foot, which is actually higher than what we have the Macy's at. So we still feel like this property is in range with local malls in the area. So it's valued consistently with local malls in the area, actually lower than what Wake County assessed that sale at, that Sears.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
No, sir.
Tim, can you go back to Mr. Clary's? I want to see where his rent came from at $4.20. Because everything else looks like it's pretty close. Mm-hmm. Go up a little bit.
Right there. Is you just passed it?
Yeah, there it is, right there. Yeah, okay. All right, so you're using. Tell me again where your 420 came from, Mr. Clary.
Sure. So what you see here are 6 recently signed leases. And so looking at the range of the lease rates involved here, we have 73 cents all the way up to 417. And again, with the quality of South Point, we put our conclusion at the high end of that lease rate. So that's where we came up with the 420. And then that was checked against the percentage of store sales. So making sure that, you know, if we had to pay 420 per square foot at this store, could this store live with that? And the answer was yes. Now, if you did, you know, $5 a square foot, now what you're doing is pushing that rent to sales ratio up 4% and higher. And as store sales continue to decline, that becomes an unhealthy rental rate. And, you know, as a landlord, you might look at that and say, that's not sustainable long-term. So again, we still feel like, you know, something in the range of $4 is closer to reality than the $5 the county's using.
Okay. All right, any other questions from the board to either of these witnesses? I'll tell you my thoughts. I'm concerned about the county's per square foot rate because it was 2012 to 2014. And I'm also a little concerned about the taxpayers because these are either, they're all renegotiated leases versus the one where we've got is owner occupied, so they wouldn't be renegotiating. So my feeling is maybe the rent ought to be somewhere in between. I don't know what your all's thoughts are.
I was thinking about, okay.
Go ahead, David. I heard you say something.
No, to Wendell.
Oh, was it Wendell?
I was wondering about the same thing with decline with the rates somewhere in between the middle, with the decline in the big box malls and more specific types like this, the impact is projected not to be upward but down. So at what point does the landlord say, you know, where do we start cutting expenses? What do we not off? You know, what happens with the building that old? Because again, you're not going to be doing any major upfit or re-upfit to increase the rental rate. It's in a maintenance position at some point. Yes, it got depreciation taking place, but the sales trends are down, they're not up. So at best, the demographics and the income, I was looking at where the rent compared to Westchester. I look at the demographics of Durham, and I'm looking at, this is West Coast, East Coast. Yes, it's California real estate, but I'm also looking at Raleigh and Durham in these areas and trying to see, just trying to understand where is the sweet spot on this that's fair to the property owner, but also to the county, and the numbers of $5 a square foot, where on the higher end, if they're trending up that way, that's one thing. But right now they're not, they're stabilized at best based on the market. So I'm just trying to understand that as well, based on what you just said.
Well, yeah, it looks like the expenses and the cap rate and the vacancy rate are all pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
It all gets down to the per square foot rent. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
But
I'm
again,
in agreement to making a compromise between the two.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think so. I was thinking more like $4.50 a square foot.
I would agree.
Is that some kind of number that you can run? Taking your numbers and moving it from 5 to 450?
Okay. So 550, I'm at 450 with our 5%. Can everybody hear me? Sorry, I want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry. So at 550, and the vacancy rate still at 5%, and the expenses still at 7, with 7. Sorry. With a 7% cap rate, that's going to be 10,251,528.
528. Okay. What do you all think about that?
I'm in agreement.
It's a million, a quarter, 1,250,000 difference from, so in that range, because I look at as a cap rate, it stays at 5, it's at 7, and the vacancy at 5. Is the vacancy and collection subject to go up? Is the expense rate subject to go up? So I can work with that. 1,251,528.
Okay, all right. Then I will entertain a motion regarding number 11.
So move. This is Wendell, the adjusted.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Clare. If you're not satisfied, you know you can take this to the state.
Understood. Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clevery.
Thank you.
Okay. How are we time-wise? We're running a little behind. Do we have people for the 10:45 hearings? Well, let's take a brief break. Let's take like a 5-minute break. All right. And come right back. Okay. Thank you. All right, well, let's get moving again, please. The next one I see is a David Upperman on Camilla, is that he said, Drive. Mr. Upperman, are you here? And we also need Albert or Jamin. Are you filling in for Albert, or where's Albert?
Jamin, if you were speaking, can you unmute?
Oh, all right. Sorry about that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I thought that was a consent agenda. Albert actually had to go back home. He had some medical issues with his father and his grandfather, so he's actually out of the country right now. But when I looked at this, I just assumed that it was a consent agenda, but I can tell that it's not. Okay.
I haven't heard from Albert on this one. And Kenya's, we did talk about hers, but Albert's, I haven't heard anything. So.
All right. Well, Jamin, can you do this one, or should we wait for Albert to get back?
Can I request this one to be continued maybe Thursday? I don't mind doing it. I just don't feel prepared for it.
All right, that's fine. All right, then I'll entertain a motion from staff regarding number 12. I mean, yeah, from the board for number 12.
I move that we continue.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, let's move on to Karen Eastman. Is Miss Eastman available? Okay, and I'm seeing Travis is the one that's supposed to do this one. Is Travis? Okay, do we know anything about that one? Okay, well, let's hold off on that one and maybe come back. Thomas Smith.
Travis was at his desk a minute ago. Let me go walk back there and make sure he's not there.
Okay.
Hold on. He's not back there.
With Albert.
Okay, well, let's move on to the next one. Thomas Smith. Is Mr. Smith here?
Mr. Smith has his is going to be rescheduled. He had surgery this morning, so his wife called me yesterday, Friday.
Okay, well, I guess we need to continue that one too then.
Okay, yeah, his is one I left on there because they asked to be heard in person. And so it ended up still being on the schedule because as of yesterday, I just found out that we can try to schedule it next year. I didn't want to take it off until I knew. But he did have surgery this morning also.
Okay. Then I'll entertain a motion regarding number 14.
Move that we continue, right?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And I guess we'll hold off on number 13 until we can find Travis or the property owner. All right. The next is not scheduled for another 10 minutes. Is Rhonda Johnson available?
Jamie's gonna do that. That's untimely.
Right. but we need to give her a few more minutes. Give her 10 minutes to show up. So I guess we'll take another break. So if you all come back at 11:15, that's when that hearing is scheduled. Okay?
Guess we're not doing 10:45s.
Let's see. I know he was on here. Where'd he go? Mrs. Smith, Travis was on here, but I don't see him now, but he's supposed to be doing his case.
Okay, all right.
I don't see him. He was on here a minute ago. Maybe he'll come back, but he said give him a couple minutes.
What about this phone number on here? Who is this? Do we know?
No.
Can you unmute them so we can maybe find out who it is?
Can I unmute? Can you hear me?
Who are you?
I'm the telephone call in. My name is Steve Booth, and I'm part of the BMAC partners for the 11:20 meeting.
Okay, but there's another phone number on here. It's not you, it's somebody else. It's a 257 number. I'm just trying to figure out who that is.
Yeah, 257 is actually a number associated with looks like it's associated with your office, so that's
okay. All right. Well, we're all back, so let's go ahead and proceed. Let's see, Travis. Is Rhonda Johnson here? Okay. Well, we'll come back to her. Let's go ahead and do this one for Karen Eastman, Chapel Run Way. And I notice that this difference is less than 5%, but let's go ahead and hear from you, Travis.
Travis, you're muted. Could you unmute?
And we can't see your video either.
Okay. Should be good to go now?
Yeah, we got you now. Let's get you sworn in. If you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your name and position, please.
All right, my name is Travis Westry. I'm a residential tax appraiser here at Durham County.
Okay. So what do you know about this case here on Chapel Run Way?
Yes, this parcel 221358 came in as an appeal that the property owner felt like her property was worth $375,000 when the county had a tax value of $388,000. But all the comps that were this is a new neighborhood, so all of the comps that were pulled out of the neighborhood were relatively around the same values, if not more.
And she paid $377 over a year before the valuation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and like I said, it's less than 5%, which is usually the requirement. So, are there any other questions from the board? Any discussion? Then I will entertain a motion regarding number 13.
I move that we accept the county's value.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, it carries. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Travis.
No problem.
Now we have an untimely determination from Rhonda Johnson, and I don't have a staff person on my chart. Who is there a staff person here for that one?
That would be me, sir.
Mr. Smith, that
Yes.
that 257 number is Christina Riggs. She's listening in between doing her field checks. So that's who number that is, staff.
Staff. Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, Jamie, let's get you sworn in, please. You swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir, I do.
State your name and position, please.
My name is Jamin Gaddy. I'm the residential real property appraiser supervisor for Durham County.
Okay, so what did Miss Johnson, what was her reason for being late, and how late was she?
Ms. Johnson, when I looked through the appeal summary, it looks to be a COVID-19 request. The appeal summary basically states that due to the pandemic, her hours have been cut, therefore income has been reduced. So therefore she's requesting that the property be reevaluated. Unfortunately, the appeal did not come in until October the 22nd. So therefore, that's why we are considering it untimely. And for that reason, are requesting for it to stay that way.
Okay. Any questions from the board? And this is just regarding her, whether or not we can even hear it because she was late.
Correct.
So I will entertain a motion then regarding number 15.
Move we uphold the county's position.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. All right, let's move on to BMAC. I understand you are here. I have Steve B on my screen.
Yes, I'm here.
Can you turn your video on?
I'm sorry, I do not have a video on my computer. Not yet. I'm supposed to get a new computer today, but I don't have it yet. So
Okay.
I had to just phone in. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
State your name, please.
I'm Stephen P. Booth.
Okay.
That's Stephen with a PH.
All right. And are you comfortable using this Zoom format for your appeal?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are looking at the county has valued your property at $118,000. You think it's worth $90,000. So what evidence have you got to show that it's worth $90,000?
The primary thing that I will bring out is the fact that we have been inside the city limits and been paying city taxes. I spoke with the former Durham manager about this one time, and so in order, I would expect if we're being rated and taxed based on being inside the city, we should have access to city services. And currently, there is no access for water for this land and zero access for sewer. Even though there's a sewer plant, your sewer plant is at the maximum. Therefore, it can't take any additional. Therefore, we cannot add sewer to the property. So no water, no sewer inside the city limits, to me, makes it a devalued property. And of this on Collins Road, if you looked at the flood zone, the flood map for this, the majority of the land is actually in a flood zone.
Okay. Does it have a functioning well and septic right now?
No.
What is it, a vacant piece of property?
Yes, it's vacant.
All right, so no water and sewer and in the floodplain. All right. Well, let's hear from the county then. Ms. Smith, you're the one for this, aren't you, Robin?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, let me get you sworn in, please. If you raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
State your name and position, please.
Robin Smith, Durham County Real Property Appraiser.
Okay, you've heard the property owner's concerns. Did you consider that this is in a floodplain?
Yes, it was considered, and adjustments were applied to the land for frequent flooding.
Okay, what about the water and sewer situation?
I did not apply an adjustment for that. We made adjustments for the frequent flooding, easement adjustment, and shape adjustment.
Hey, do we have any data on this property that we can see?
Well, that's what I was just going to ask. Tim, can you pull up a map of this and show them the floodplain?
And how much, so we know how much land it is, et cetera. Et cetera.
Okay, well, I can go through that. It's a vacant lot on Collins Drive, which is near Goodwin Road in northern Durham. It's 38.639 acres. Original value, 118,343. Owner's opinion of value, 90,000. If you could show the comps, we have comps. It wasn't in the exact immediate area, but it's still in the same neighborhood. The comps are a little bit less than the subject, but the tax value is between the sales. The sales range from 75,000 to 190,000, and the tax office subject value is between the sales of
So did you use some kind of per acre value on this?
Would you say? I couldn't hear you.
Did you use some kind of per acre value for this property?
Per acre? Yeah, it's wait a minute, I have it down here. It is, wait a minute, I have it in my notes, my bad. I think it's 3,000, excuse me, $3,063 per square feet for the subject.
Per acre.
Per acre. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just wondering, it looks like, most of the site looks like it's in the floodplain. So,
and we made adjustments for that.
Okay.
And
just
if I could add,
just a minute, Mr.
Can
Booth.
I add a little something?
Yeah, we'll get back to you, Mr. Booth. Let's
okay, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, it's got a funny shape, and it's also got a lot of floodplain. So we just kind of, want to make sure you considered all that. And
we did. We considered the shape, 50%, frequent flooding, 68%, and easement adjustment, which was 95%, which made with those adjustments.
It looks like part of the site there to the right is isolated. So
that's correct.
You know how much of it's usable, Miss Smith or Mr. Booth? I mean, it looks like just
only a small portion off of the Collins Drive area would be usable. So that's only a matter of a few acres that would be in that portion. So the other on the right-hand side, closer to Claremore, is inaccessible.
Right.
And Ms. Smith, I got a question, Dave. When you say a few acres, what's that?
I'm sorry, what?
When the taxpayer said there are only a few acres, and I'm trying to understand what's a few acres of 38 acres that's only used?
Maybe I'd say maybe a third, maybe 10 acres in there.
Okay. I just want to get clarification what you meant by a few.
Yeah, no problem. I've actually gone out, and this property has been in my family for probably 60 or 70 years, and I've gone out and walked that land just to see if there was anything feasible could be done with it, and it really is not a lot that you could do. We may be able to put, if we could have somebody wanted to buy it, but if you can't get water and sewer, nobody's going to buy that land.
Is Collins Road, is that paved or look? I'm trying to see what it looks like on this map.
It is. I think Collins at this point is a gravel. It may be paved a little bit, but I believe it's a gravel road. It does not continue down to that turn. Yeah, Cabin Creek. It really isn't much there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, Tim, if you can take, there's like an overlay, a street overlay. If you can take that off, then it'll give us a better.
Yeah, what, something similar like.
Yeah, take that off. And we'll see if we can see any street at all. Doesn't look like much of. Yeah, so it looks pretty isolated there too.
Yeah.
Now, Robin, do you have a value of it if it were a buildable, nice piece of property?
Yes. Without the adjustments on it, the tax value would be $366,390.
And would you know what that acre that is?
It's over 10,000.
38 point. What do you mean? The total acreage?
Well, I'm just trying to see what
that value would be for the 38.639 acres without the adjustments.
Okay, so it'd be about 10,000 an acre if it were buildable.
Right.
And so you've moved that down to about 3,000 an acre. Is that correct?
3,063.
3,063. Okay.
On the third, yeah, substantial.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have anything else, Mr. Booth?
Just the fact that this is, it basically is not land that we have a market for. I don't think anybody is going to come in and purchase this large amount of land from us, and it's basically it's just sitting there. But it's just not. I don't think it's appropriate to be taxed on a city tax basis if I don't have the availability of city services.
Okay. Ms. Smith, did you consider the fact that it doesn't look like it's got any access?
I took in consideration the shape, frequent flooding, and the easement. I took off $248,047.
Because I can't tell if that Collins Road goes to the subject. So, somebody developing it would have to maybe pave that road.
Right. It goes, it just extends to that 5611. That's how far down it goes, just that lot, that house that's right there.
So there's a little bit of the road that goes to your property.
Right. Just basically it's a built specifically for that house. So that's about it.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions from the board? Any discussion? What do you all think about this?
Mr. Chair, this is Wendell. As I'm looking at the property owner, and even though it's got city taxes on it, have the property owner considered putting into some type of forestry easement or getting benefits from it? Is it timbered? Is it all land has some value and utilization, but what else could this property use that to further reduce its tax liability, since it's been in its family for so many years like that, and the potential for the property to be utilized is really subject to a lot of variables, and one being flood, as Smith stated. So has that been considered by the property owner?
Mr.
No, we have basically our primary concept was this would be for development or housing. Residential housing is about the only thing we've looked at. We have not had any kind of concept on using or timbering the land. We have not. We have other land in that area that we have considered that, but this land we have not.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other discussion? Looks like the county's knocked about 2/3 of the value off. Is that enough? That's my question, because this property is, as a friend of mine would say, is just holding the world together. It looks like.
Down about three. You see, we're down about how much an acre now? I don't know.
Like,
A little over 3,000 an acre.
Right, down from 10,000.
I mean, I think more like 2,000, 2,500 an acre, just knowing the area over there, because that Collins Drive and that Cabin Creek Drive, they're not really great streets either. So your access.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay, Mr. Booth, you're gonna need to let us talk now, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
That's all right. So, Robin, can you make some sort of access adjustment on here?
Access?
10% or something like that?
It can be made. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you do on this one?
Can you do it now, or is it something you're going to need to take away to do? Or Tim can, I guess Tim can do it. Actually, do maybe 5%, because that's going to be on the whole property.
Okay.
Okay, and which of this put that on, Robin? Is it other or is it just something else?
Yes, it's put it on other.
Okay, and is it ACS?
Yeah.
Is that, okay. 5%.
Well, go back and make it 10. That's only $6,000.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Hey, Dave. I'm doing it. So we're working out. I'm online. I'll call you back. I'm online with them right now. So okay, bye.
Knocks down a little bit. What do you all think? Jeanette, you think that's enough?
Yeah.
Knocks it down to 106.
106.
That's on the whole parcel now, correct? 5% on the whole parcel.
Yeah, I guess so, right. But it's already been, a lot of percentages taken off.
They may quite do. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But if y'all want to keep going, that's fine.
That was at 10%, right?
That's 10%.
That's 10%.
Okay.
It's down to about 2,900 an acre.
Right. That's what you're looking for, right, Jeanette? That's what you said. Okay. All right. Any other discussion? Then I'll entertain a motion regarding this one, number 16.
I make a motion, we accept the a new adjusted value of what, 106,509.
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, Mr. Booth, we've come down a little bit. If you're still not happy, you can appeal this to the state, And, we don't have any control over the city or not. We just value it for the county. All right, let's move on. Let's see now. Do we have James Petria? Is that how you pronounce his name? Is he present? All right, then, all right, Jamin, are you handling this one also?
I am, sir.
Okay, what have you got for us on him?
This one, we are considering untimely. It was filed on October the 15th, which is after the cutoff period of June 30th. So for that reason, we, like I said, are looking at it as untimely. The one thing that he has in his summary was some foundation issues. But I just want to make a quick point that currently our value, our assessed value is $642,912, and he purchased the property for $630,000. So we're pretty much right there at it.
All right, and that's not what we're talking about anyway. If he didn't do it in time, did he give a reason why he didn't file it on time?
No, sir. All he just has in here is some structural repairs needed or something like that.
Okay, all right. Any questions from the board? Any discussion? Then I'll entertain a motion on this one. Doesn't really have a number, but anyway, it's in between 16 and 17.
I make a motion, we don't accept the being untimely.
Okay. All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. It is Vicken Baklian. Is that correct? Mr. Baklian, are you here? Okay. All right. Jack, are you available? Yes, there you are.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry.
So what can you tell us about this one?
Okay. I'm not sure how to say his name either. Mr. Baklavid, he did not respond after he had a tax consultant that was representing him. And after we talked and the value was adjusted downward, he didn't respond back to either, didn't respond back to the consultant. And I'm guessing he didn't respond back to the notice for this appeal. The consultant decided that she wanted to go ahead and reject the value to give him time to respond and or show up for the meeting. But going into, if you're ready to go into the appeal, we can just go into the information that we have.
Yes, if you would, please.
Okay. Sorry about that. Just lost my page. Okay. So this is on Miami Boulevard in Wellings Village. The property was originally valued at $997,970. We reduced this value to $682,863. The reductions came in based on we looked at the adjoining property, and we noticed that there was an eco adjustment on that property. So we made a similar adjustment to the subject property. I did notice that we had this listed as masonry instead of wood, so we changed.
Yeah, Tim, can you pull? Yeah, thank you. Pull up maybe a GIS map or something so we can get some kind of idea about this property. Okay, good. So which one is it there, Jack?
Okay, so it's the one in blue, outlined in blue. We did go ahead and put a shape adjustment on here. It had a corner lot adjustment on there initially that had the land value. It was an upward adjustment that pulled that land value upward. Since they cut off Miami from 70, and I know the traffic is probably down there. We felt, and the property adjacent to it. If you look at, can't really see it on the screen. Look at the property 120876. That property did not have a corner lot adjustment, and of course the across from it is we have a cemetery, and that does not have that corner lot adjustment. So we removed that to be fair to the subject property. So after making those changes, we got the property down, and and we put a shape adjustment on there to further reduce the value. We went ahead and made that adjustment because he was okay with the changes with the improvement value, but he saw that there's a bunch of properties. That's why I put this map up. There's a bunch of properties that have I have this same map in my information. There's a bunch of properties that are in the floodplain. Some are fully in floodplain. The adjoining property has a slight part of it in the floodplain and is much larger to the subject. These are what he used. You could pull up the email, but he used properties. He just showed those properties as a lower value, but I made sure he knew that those properties were in the floodplain and that we are assessing him similarly to the other properties that do not have property does not have flood zones. It's not touching the flood zone. So if you go to, after we made all those changes with that last change with the shape adjustment, if Tim, can you pull up my income approach?
Jack, what is on this property?
Oh, sorry. It's mixed use retail. So it is a restaurant. Now they have a restaurant, a car audio, and let me pull up that information again.
Yeah, you gonna pull income? Do I need to go into breakout room?
Well, it's my income. Yes, because we have his actual. Okay. We have his actual income.
It's his income. Okay.
Give me a minute.
Thank you, Sheila.
That will manually.
It's the location where the old Harley Davidson and
Yes, sir.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
yeah, the old Harley Davidson and shoe store there.
And a shoe store, yep.
Oh, okay. I know. Like,
Mhm. And the access for 7, it was cut off further down the access for 7 coming off of East End is further down Miami,
Yeah.
crossing Department of Public Safety.
DMV, yep.
Building is correct.
Yes, sir. The DMV is right up the street.
DMV, is that right? Okay.
Yep. So we did, that's one of the reasons why I was okay with taking that quarter lot adjustment off, because the decrease in traffic. And to answer your question, it is a restaurant. We have an auto repair shop and also a car audio and video. So we put this as mixed retail.
Was it zoned for auto repair under the UDO for, I think it's R5. I got a body shop on the market, so I had to study that zoning. So is it zoned for auto repair?
Hold on, I will have to look up the
No, you don't have, no, never mind. I was just thinking about that with all your repair, from being a Harley Davidson to a old shoe outlet to what it is now, with it being retail. I was just wondering about the classifications of zoning and whether it was grandfathered or not on the light industrial versus retail.
Yes, sir.
That would have an impact.
So you don't want me to try to?
No, that's okay. No, that's not I can look it up. Thank you.
No problem. Are we already in the breakout room?
You were supposed to be, but you weren't showing up, and I added everybody. Let me try it again, okay?
Okay. And it still says we're live on YouTube. I don't know if that's going to.
I can't stop the YouTube, but I have to keep that going.
Okay.
That YouTube won't be in the breakout room, will it?
I thought I added all the board members and Jack, and that was it.
Okay.
Hold on, it's closing. I gotta wait for the other one to close and start up again. Okay. Breakout room. June.
All right, I guess we got everybody, don't we? Yeah. Okay, any discussion from the board? Then I will entertain a motion on this one, number 17.
So move to set the county's adjusted rate valuation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Okay, all right, well, let's move on.
Jack, what was that value?
What was the value, Jack?
680.
682, 836.
That's correct.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Okay, we now have 6 properties on El Dorado, and it's Chad Bebo. I'm sorry if I'm mangling your name, but I see that he is present. There he is. Okay, so let's get you sworn in, please, if you don't mind. If you'll raise your right hand.
Sir.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
State your name, please.
Chad Bebo.
Bebo, okay. And you are the owner of these properties on El Dorado Street, is that correct?
I am, sir, with my wife.
And you are comfortable using this format, this Zoom format for your appeal?
I'm not, but if you all can do it, I can do it.
Well, if not, we can continue it and do it live at some point when the virus is gone. So.
Yeah, that might be a while. So let's forge forward.
Okay. All right, let's move on to Mr. McCray. We need to get you sworn in also, and you need to turn your mute off.
There you go.
Okay. Raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and position with the county, please.
Gina McCree. I'm a Durham County residential tax appraiser.
Okay. And what do you have for us on these properties? All right, well, first of all, are they ones that we can look at as a whole, or do we need to go through them individually?
They're on the same street. If Tim can pull up the Go Maps, you can see them. They're all vacant land, and you should be able to see them all.
So is it safe to say that if we make a decision on one, we'll probably have the same result for all of them?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay. So, sir, is there any one particular one you want us to focus on to sort of serve as the key one?
If we could start at 2812 El Dorado.
All right. Tim, can you pull back and maybe give us an aerial of these? Okay. All right, Mr. McCray, what do you got for us on these?
These are all vacant lots. The value that we have on them currently is a minus 90% land adjustment for every one of them. It's the same adjustment on all the parcels. So basically, we've marked them down at 90%. The values that we have are, I mean, I don't see, there's nothing else that I could do, individually to mark them down anymore unless y'all make another determination or whatever. But the values that we have on particular averaging around $3,000 a lot.
What would they be worth if they were buildable, had roads and everything?
I did not take it off, but the value per acre in those particular areas are $12,000 an acre.
I was just wondering, you said 90%, but it was 90% of what?
Hold on, I didn't take that off on the.
Well, I guess we can divide it back and get it. You said 3,000.
If Tim could, we pull up the AS400, we can take that off that particular one. You'll be able to see the exact value.
So you had it looked like it was about $30,000. Is that what they were?
Yeah.
And then you
Yes.
And you made a 90% adjustment.
Yes. Matter of fact, these adjustments were already on there, and I didn't see anything that would make me want to take them off. So I just left the adjustments on there themselves.
So is 90% typically what you all use when you have properties
For
like
undeveloped land, that is, for access, the location, yes, it is.
Just with paper streets, okay?
Yes.
All right, okay, sir. What information do you have for us?
Is it possible for me to share my screen?
I don't. Well, we're only supposed to look at stuff that was submitted prior to the hearing. So,
Well, I learned about the hearing a few days ago via email, and I submitted my exhibits yesterday.
Okay. Do you have those exhibits, Tim?
Don't really see anything in appeals. Depending on who it was submitted to, I don't see anything uploaded to it currently. What was the email address you sent them into?
I sent them to 3 email addresses. Let's see. I sent them to taxboer@dconc.gov. I sent them to tax-reval@dconc.gov, and I sent them to tax_assessor@dconc.gov.
You did all this yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Could you tell me what time you sent them? Maybe I can check the tax BOER.
I sent them 21 hours ago. It was Monday at 3:02 p.m.
Tim, I have forwarded the email to you.
Well, sir, you're supposed to send them in 10 days before the hearing, but we'll if you can you share your screen maybe so we can see what you've got?
Yes, sir. I do not have permission to share my screen.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe Tim can pull something up then.
Tim, you can display.
Oh, I think I have my permission now.
So I think Tim's got it. So let's.
All right. I did just get the emails about 5 attachments on there.
Yeah, it should be just 4.
But what is it we're going to be seeing on these?
Oh yeah, it's 4.
On these attachments, sir.
It is just a screenshot of your Go Maps with the lots and historical values from 2018, 2016 for $450 when they went on market, a sale, and then 2 sales for $0 they were donated. And we can pull up Exhibit 2.
Yeah, we've got something like that. So okay.
There we go.
So someone actually bought these other vacant lots. Looks like did you buy one of these lots?
I bought all of these lots in red there.
You're right. All right. Do you have anything else to contribute for us, sir?
That's it. I mean, if you guys need supporting documents, I've got my HUD-1 statements that show the market sale value that backs up these sales. There's a typo on the top left corner. That should say $450 open paren 2018 close paren. So that sale was not in 2019, it was 2018.
All right. Okay. Gino, do you have anything else you want to contribute?
I did have some sales in that particular neighborhood. They were in the same neighborhood code R823B. There was a 2748. There were two on Woodmont Drive. They were 0.944 acres apiece, and both of those particular sales one sold for $55,000 and another one sold for $33,000. So, I mean, they're in the same neighborhood, and they were all vacant land. They were vacant land sales themselves.
Were they isolated like these properties are?
The Woodmont, I don't think so. I don't think they're isolated like that because they don't have any adjustments on them themselves.
Okay. All right. Well, let's, any further questions from the board?
No, I would just add that this is undevelopable swampland with zero utilities, zero access. And
when you say swampland, is it in the floodplain?
it is not in the floodplain. The floodplain goes up to, if you see that little tip of El Dorado Street at the bottom there, that's where the Ellerby Creek goes to. But every time it rains, it looks like the Amazon down there. So it's in a hollow.
Well, Tim, can you pull up the GIS map and let's look at the floodplain? Okay, so it's down there. Okay. All right. Any questions from the board?
No, sir.
What do you all, first of all, what do you think of the $30,000 lot value? Does that seem pretty reasonable?
Yes.
Okay, so then we're really stuck with, I mean, you've got these isolated, unbuildable properties that the county uses 90%. And is that typically what you do, Gino, is 90% on these kind of properties?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what do you all think? Is 90% correct? I mean, that's what the county usually uses.
Yeah.
The county using that 90% from a standpoint in this here, what would change that? Is there anything to change that number for 90%? There's nothing to change that, correct?
No.
Right, got it. Okay, thank you.
It's just a judgment call, you know.
Right, exactly.
You know, or should be 95% or 85%. You know, it's just sort of what the county does. My feeling is we kind of need to be consistent. If that's what the county does on all these properties, we should probably stick with it. You know, who knows what this property would sell for?
Exactly. And I'm not sure what else we could base more of a decrease on.
Exactly.
You know,
we did 90% is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Then I will entertain a motion regarding properties 18 through 23.
I'll make a
Move
motion.
to accept the county's values as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, and sorry, you can appeal this to the state board if you're not satisfied.
Thank you. I wish you put my appeal on record too, please. Thank you.
You'll be getting information from the county about this, about how to appeal.
I have a hard time getting information from the county via mail, but thank you.
Sorry to hear that. Okay. All right. Well, that concludes our hearing for today, and we are coming back on Thursday, correct?
Yes.
So is there
Yes, Thursday.
Yeah. Thursday.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? All right. Good job. And I will see you in 2 days.
All right. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.